Rogue. Excuse me. Let me change this up. One second. Something's not right tonight.
You looking so studious.
No, I'm all right.
I think so.
No.
Greater. We on the radio. Now we greater. 2. Here we go. Look. We greater. Y'all can start talking. Let's see if this. Can y'all see this?
Working through
everybody see
technical
this?
difficulties.
I need to come around again.
I'm gonna start all over again.
Come on, Brett, we can see.
Oh, Adam's not in here. Hold on a second. Sorry, guys. We had some technical difficulty. Oh, my goodness. This don't make sense.
Okay, I'm in it now.
Let me turn it.
Yeah. Well, let me see.
Sure.
Hold on, let me see. Adam, you might need to come around this way.
We usually score.
I tell you what, all right, so come.
You scoot in.
We are as close as we normally are, though.
Right.
But-
If you sit, we can kind of tell.
Yeah,
where
you sit down.
Yeah, man,
You sit down. You sit down. and We'll
Stay
figure it
behind me.
out.
They don't have you in here.
We'll figure it out.
All right.
I gotta be all super close to each other.
Right.
All right, y'all. Apologies.
Having daggone technical difficulties.
Yes. So you all out there in the radio land, the Mevo was becoming backslidden tonight. It's acting up. So we are going to go on without it. It's going to try to mess me up, but we're going to keep this right along moving. So, welcome to another broadcast of Unique Perspectives Love Talk Radio. As usual, I have the gang here. I have Adam, Natalie, Rhonda, my boy Dre, and yours truly, Charles Dixon, Urban Broadcast Media, and the Star Radio. All right, what's that one right there? We on there.
Okay.
Okay, so if everyone, can you all? Oh, Adam.
Yeah.
Can you take that? Somebody's phone is on. Somebody's phone is on. It's Dre's. 1 second. I forgot. One more thing.
I got it.
Here we go.
I got it down.
All right. Can you all hear me? Can everybody say you can hear me? Apologies. Can you all say you can hear me, please? Someone say yes if you can hear us. All right, got you. All right. All right, guys. So here we go. Apologies for the technical difficulties. There's always something going on. Anyway, tonight's topic is open relationships and open marriages. I know some people may say, hey, this, in some form or fashion, this has been going on forever and a day. It's always been somebody doing something in the back room or this, that, and the other. But nowadays, it's almost like every other 3 to 4 people you meet are involved in some sort of, I guess what you call it, secrecy, societal, sexual activity. And,
Studio.
We don't feel comfortable now.
So I say this to say this is upon us, and everybody has tons of opinions, and believe it or not, I mean, it's everywhere. I know we like to kind of code things and stamp things as a no-go zone, but when you think about somebody's sexual resolve, it doesn't stop at the church. It doesn't stop at the monastery, wherever you are. It could be whatever situation. Whenever somebody is dealing with their own personal pleasures and needs, you really don't know how far people will tend to go to get the desired result. Now, me personally, of course, you have your traditional, definitions of what if we're gonna start with marriages first, and that's basically between man and woman, and that's your relational circle. Thus the ring, right, representing that circle. But even in that, I've heard people say comments like, "Oh, the bedroom's undefiled," and and my statement was to this one particular person was, "Yeah, it's undefiled, but he didn't mean to say bring in tenfold into the undefiled. He meant just between you and your wife." But anyway,
Oh my God.
so the thing is this: this is here. Like I said, I'm joking with you guys, but this is a no judgment zone. We just kind of off the cuff, and we just going to go in because everyone, just like education, we just trying to figure out and see what's what, so we can go from there and just learn how this is. And so also tonight, someone was brave enough. Actually, two souls were brave enough. One person was actually in the life, and I'll tell her story shortly. But it was very, very, very recent. And another person.
Charles, that's your story. Why you be fronting? That's
really
your
it.
story.
Did I just put you
Trying
out
to
there?
put it on somebody
How
else.
would you like that, man?
Anyway.
Oh my God.
Charles, he ain't asking for a friend. Beat it.
Anyway,
My friend had.
My friend said.
oh Lord! And look, and then there's another person who's speaking in the voice of a divorced woman who wasn't in the life, but she found herself questioning herself after her husband was busy frolicking every day. Anyway, he was basically dealing with a lot of infidelity, and it kind of left her feeling some kind of way for some period of time until she was able to kind of gather herself. So we shall start in-house first, and then we will go to all the other wonderful compliments. So we're going to start all the way. Hey, Dre, why don't you come behind me, man, so we can see you. Hey, come on this side. Can I see you? Oh, okay, got you. All right, so let's start with Dre. So the question is this. We have a kind of mixture of people. This is a good mix. We got people that are single, never been married. We got people that have been married. So the question is, we're going to start with you. As a single man, do you think, I know this is an open question, but ask yourself, okay, I'm in a marriage or relationship, and this isn't an implication to you. I'm just saying, do you think in your mind you can find the resolve to say, hey, Keisha, whatever, what do you think about this?
There's a lot of steps I would go through and have to talk about before that, get into that point. 'Cause
Right.
to me, this whole conversation is about, it's a deep conversation.
Yeah.
And I think, ego has a lot to do with it. And like the story you told, or you just referenced, the last one about the wife whose husband was cheating, and she started feeling some way about herself. It has nothing to do with her. So she's going to internalize his inability to, deal with his situation and make it about her, as if she's not enough, she's lacking.
Right.
So I try and come from a place of understanding.
Okay.
So I've been in situations, I've turned down threesomes.
Wow.
For many different reasons. One, I'm thinking of one in particular where I knew one girl was a predator, and the other girl, when she had issues with her, she was trying to seek out different things and control people, and she got off on making other people do what she wanted them to do. The other girl was innocent and sweet, and she was going to do whatever she wanted to do, the other girl, because she felt sort of inadequate in her sexuality, and she was trying to put herself out there, but it wasn't who she truly was. And I'm a bit of a germaphobe, so I'm like, if y'all want to do this off that, I'm like, how many other dudes you done it with?
Right, right.
I no bumps on my lips, I ain't. I'm not the one.
That's right.
And plus, sex is an energy transfer, so that's a whole nother side of the conversation.
Yes. Wow. Okay. All right, Rhonda.
Yes, sir.
You have been you're the marriage collegiate. So, Okay, so you coming from the perspective, and by all means, do I not want to lead this conversation by making it assume that it's always the man,
Right.
Because sometimes it's the woman,
Right.
So, just out of your curiosity, how do you think that would have played into you?
What, I mean, I'm
Like someone basically, how do you think you would have tried to reconcile your spouse saying, "Hey, Rhonda, what do you think about this?"
I've done it before.
Oh. That's it.
Yeah,
Okay,
there you
that's
go.
good.
You've done what?
That's a
I had a threesome
one.
before.
No,
But in the context
okay.
of a relationship?
We're talking about a full-on.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, how did you resolve this?
What do you mean? How
Like
do
meaning in your mind, like
how do we
okay.
come to that place?
Well, give us that and then after the fact.
I'll have
Okay.
on me.
That's my
Yeah,
opinion,
you know,
man.
I'm me. I don't care.
Yeah, man, no
I'm very
judgment.
open and honest.
judgment.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, no
That's why I was
judgment.
invited to the show. That's why I was invited
Yeah.
to be a regular, because I don't have a problem with telling my story and sharing my journey. So I did it once in my life,
Okay.
and I did it as an attempt to save my marriage. So I thought that I was doing it because I don't really know now. Because what I thought then, I have a very different perspective about it now at this age. Would I ever do it again? No. Was I? I can't say that I enjoyed it because I wasn't in the right mental state of mind. It's not my character. It's not my personality. It was like a very desperate attempt to try to save my marriage.
Where was your head at then? Like, tell us where your head was at that age, and like, how did the situation get presented to you?
Well, actually, it wasn't like it was brought at the time that it happened. It was just it was based on years of us having just conversation. It's based on years of us having conversation. I thought that it would be a means for him to stop cheating.
Okay.
So that was why I attempted to try it. And then plus, I'm like a free spirit, so I'm willing to try probably most things once in my life. That's
Okay.
my personality.
Okay.
Free spirit. Let me think. So actually, I presented it. Well, I presented it as a gift, a surprise gift, thinking that he would understand that I'm like the coolest chick, his best friend. That we didn't have to have any secrets from each other. That anything that he desired, he already had it in me.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay. So Natalie. All right.
Boom.
Now. Hey, Adam, can you take counsel on that? So, Natalie, from the perspective of the single dating woman over the years, relationships, whatever. I know you mentioned you had some long-term situations with your son's father, whatever. Have you ever either have been encountered, or if not, what? I'm not trying to ask you what is your preference, but I think I kind of. But anyway, so what would you have done? What do you think you have done if it came to you like that?
You know what? Fortunately, for him, I think that I have a personality such that he would not have, or he or anyone that I've been with would not have approached me about
something like that.
A threesome, a foursome, a fivesome, whatever. I'm anti that.
Okay.
I'm not sharing anybody that I'm with, or I wouldn't be able to focus on that relationship. Like at the point where I'm letting other people in, he probably doesn't have my intention the way he needs to. So no, I'm anti. So
wow,
I would shoot it down immediately, and then my eyebrow would be raised. Like, what the heck is going on?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right, Mr. Ford. Again, married life person in the past. So what? I'm sure you harassed your wife, so tell us about it.
You almost made me cuss. Almost made
No,
me
I'm
say
playing.
something
I'm playing.
on the air.
I'm joking. Go ahead, man.
No,
Tell the truth to set you free.
I'm telling the truth.
Aight,
I'm gonna
just
tell
be
the
honest.
truth. You better
Throw it out
believe
there.
that. No, I've never been approached to do anything near that, and I'm just being honest.
So you ain't gonna tell the truth.
I don't have to lie.
Juvenile hall?
What? Greg. Don't do that, bro. Don't do that, man. Don't do that, man. Don't do that, man. I've never been approached, and I think it has to do with Well, no, I've always said that when I was married, the reason why I stayed married was because of the fact that being single in today's time is just treacherous because you don't know what you're going to get. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And so not unfortunately, but the safety of being in a relationship who you know felt more better to me. That's really bad English.
Man, that was terrible.
It felt better to me than to be single out on my own in the unknown, literally, in unknown territory. But no, I've never been approached to have any type of open anything except an open heart to Jesus.
Oh, wow. Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
That cracked you up.
That just killed me right there. Oh, but no, I've never been approached for that.
Okay, so before I give a little spiel,
I
want to say this though. People don't realize that on the surface, we call it what it is. Somebody comes home and they present something to you and say, this is what you want to do, blah, blah, blah. Right. But I don't think we look at it on the other side. Some of us are in them whether we think we are or not. Right. You know, when that man, when you got a dude or a woman that's and ballsy enough to tell you that they're dealing with other people and you're in an open relationship. It's just that you don't see it happening in your face, but it's happening. And so, you know, and even unfortunately, by default, some women and men are in open relationships. Wow. They're like, that's my man, my woman, and he just got 10 and 20 other people. Anyway,
that's honestly how I felt. It was kind of like, stop going out doing this. Yeah. Why don't you just try it this way? That's how I felt.
Let's go to your settings. Help her. So.
I'll do it.
Okay, so here's the kicker. The other part of it is this: you have I see how the way Rhonda perceived that in her mind is how a lot of people think. They're thinking, "Hey, if it's that bad, come on and do this." When in fact, what really that activity just explodes it worse. Because when you have a person that really can't stop something, it really sometimes has nothing to do with you. It's just where they are in the drive they have, and it's just nothing you can say or do. You can put on 10 90s, and he's gonna be like, "That's my baby," and go right back out the next day.
It's 100% about their character.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's about their character.
Yeah, it is, but it also says something about that person, right? Because all the scenarios you all just talked about is where the relationship is quote unquote open by default, where you already have some idea that person is doing stuff out behind your back. It's not like you've been married for 35 years. Correct. Like, we both been thinking about it. I think she cute too. This is, you are in a place where you think that's the kind of treatment you deserve, and you're willing to put up with that even further beyond what's already done. You're willing to not only allow that type of behavior outside, but pull yourself down to it to keep that person. So it's about the other person, sure, and what they're doing, but it's also about you.
Correct. And the thing of it is, I don't think people realize how detrimental it is to the person that agrees. Like I'm not talking about the person who initiates, but the person that agrees. What's the word?
Mental effect.
Yeah, the mental effect and the residual effect that happens after the fact is catastrophic because it carries on. I don't care if you remove yourself from the person, that mindset stays with you. There, That expectation stays with you, and it's like whatever highs and lows you get from it, it sort of drives your self-esteem forward, and so you don't even realize it. But so for me, I'll say this: I remember when I was back home, back east, when I was living at home, and so let's just say it was probably during my time where I was probably being a pistolier. But anyway, so make a long story short, I was walking in the Wild West and
Wild West.
I was shooting around. That's it. So here's the thing.
Wild West.
I remember meeting someone who totally threw me off guard. Okay. So I met this person, at the time back east, a lot of people that work in the government back in the DC area. So it was government worker. You thinking they got everything together, glasses like this, they look the par, suits and all that. So I'm thinking, okay, this is a decent potential person.
Okay.
And so I remember. What?
We're about to put her phone out.
Take a minute. Right, you know? So I remember.
Come on.
So I remember.
Time out. You want time out. By the way, they got me standing, y'all. I'm over here standing like I'm waiting for the scrap. Right. But that's okay. I'm still riding. We ride.
So needless to say,
Oh my God,
so I meet the person. We deal, we engage, as you call it, whatever, all those things. Then, so here's the subtle seduction. So then, see, men, we're mostly a 90% ego, right? So when somebody's saying, oh, this is blah, 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 good, whatever, you're like, yeah, whatever. So then later, the person says, hey, I want you to go to hang out with my friends on this Friday. So I'm thinking, oh, she want to try to take things to the next level and meet her circle,
friends, right?
I mean, people introduce you to their circle to see how they approve.
That's what she's doing.
Yeah.
Exactly what she's doing.
So
Coming to my circle.
Here we go.
Tried you out. Now
Right.
He passed the test.
Right.
I'll let y'all take
Here
that.
we go.
Right. So we go out and she takes me. So I'm thinking, I don't know where I thought we were going to like a restaurant or something.
Right.
So she takes me to an area that's pretty much close to where, not too far from where my folks lived in this part of Maryland, so it's pretty much local. It wasn't anything special.
Yeah.
So I see this regular Cape Cod house. I'm expecting something grander. I'm like, okay, it was regular house. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
So we go up to the steps. I'm like, I got your friends over here.
Yeah.
We knock on the door. Here's flag number one.
Flag
knock
number
on
one.
the door. Here comes a dude to the door. He had like a cup, what looks like Kool-Aid in his hand, probably with syrup. But anyway, he comes to the door. He comes to the door with a robe on, right? Chest all out, and he had on boxer shorts and slippers.
Yeah,
so I'm thinking,
that's gonna be a problem.
so I'm thinking that this is probably, maybe it's a relative, somebody close.
We need to talk about the car.
Right.
So I'm thinking this
I
was
can't
somebody
believe
like
you
that.
went in anyway. That is
No, so
random.
this at the door. I didn't go in yet. We at the door.
Did he just get up
He
out the
came
bed?
to the door. No, it was you,
I
Adam.
need-
So we come to the door, and it's the guy there. And so he said, hey, come on in, folks. He knew the girl. He was like, hey, so-and-so. I ain't gonna say her name. He said the person's name. And I said, okay, so we go in. I step into the foyer, right? I step into the foyer. And then I proceed to turn left and follow her. As soon as I turn left, I look. Now, granted, it's a small house, right? It ain't no big house. As soon as I turn left, all you see is all I saw was dark.
Freaking.
I saw the most vile things in a
It's
small
an orgy.
space.
He said the vile things.
I mean, it was people. No,
Debauchery. Lasciviousness.
No, listen. When I say these people made space of this small space, it was on the floor, the knees, the couch, the this, that, and the other. And I'm sitting here like, so trust me, at this moment,
You're like, now
I
it's a
looked at
party.
the girl and I said, hey, I'm gonna be in the car. I said, if you gonna be in here, you be in here. I'm in the car. So she said, she did like this. But I'm gonna tell you, this is the wicked part about it. When she turned around and looked at me, she gave me a look I'd never really seen her give me before. But it was like that, when somebody show you that devil face? It was as if I saw the devil on her face.
Wow.
And she looked at me and she was just like, you not coming in? And I said, and her whole demeanor changed.
The blood of Jesus.
Her whole demeanor changed. And so I said,
Oh my
boom,
God.
I backed out. But trust me when I tell you this. I know for a fact, had I had went in that room,
Lord have mercy.
I wouldn't be here with y'all now. And I mean that from not talking about my life. I'm talking about I would be somewhere in space, sexually.
Right.
Trust me.
That was a fork in the
I know
road.
for a
Yeah,
fact. And
that
so
was
I
the
backed out of there and I was like, no.
No, not for me.
Let me
That
not
was
do
too
this
much
last
for
time.
even you,
Too much.
Charles.
And so
Back then.
back then, yeah. But anyway, so
Right.
I see it all. I see it all.
now I'm like, bring on the mansion.
Wow.
Anyway.
Charles talking about come on in. When it's
Right.
come on in.
He the one with the syrup. I got the syrup. I'm ready, y'all.
So it was that. So it was just kind of crazy. Yeah, so I'll never ever forget that. I was just like, wow. And so since then, I've heard of many things. I've been like Dre, I've been invited several times, and people like not to no house, but to just join something and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
No, okay, so I can say I still have the testimony of no. Maybe I should try it. Anyway, so listen. So next thing I know,
Somebody lay hands on him real quick.
I promise you.
Make him make
No,
eye
I
contact
promise
with you,
Dre.
Dre. Make
Listen,
him make eye
let me
contact.
take my glasses off. Now I'm gonna tell you, like I said, I've been a pistolier, but trust this.
I still want to know what that is.
I'm mad that he don't know. Anyway, so listen. So here's the kicker. The kicker is this.
Oh my God.
When I think, this is why I say I wouldn't be here, because honestly, like I told y'all on one of the shows before, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't get high, none of that, right? So when I think of all the things I've done, it was sober. That's even worse. But anyway, so I'll be like, wow, because I say to myself, when people do stuff like what we're talking about tonight, open relationships and marriage, they often have to dope to cope. And I always say, if you have to dope to cope, you shouldn't do it.
Okay.
You know, if you feel like you have to go to another island in order to play, then that's not for you to do. You don't have the bearings to do it. So don't put yourself in that predicament. And so people get, some people, you might hear somebody say, I've heard people say things to me, and like, if it has something to do with a sexual connotation, and they'll say something like, well, you know what, I need to get me some, you need to stop and give me some of that such and such wine, then I'll be ready. Or somebody might say they need to get high or do this and all this. Okay. So that's telling me you don't really want to do this.
Right.
So if you have to do that, you don't want to do all this. So it's a common thing, and it happens, you know, quite often. And so like I said, you have no idea just under your nose how common and how close this activity is to you in many ways.
Down the street.
Yes,
Literally
many ways.
down the street.
And like I said, when I said back in my hometown, this house was amongst my parents' neighborhood, so it was just very unsuspecting. But it was.
You would have never thought that.
But
this
you know
was
what?
happening.
But when I used to drive past it, I used to always see cars in the driveway and then on the side. And you know, I used to say, "Oh, they got a big friend. They must love them." But you know what? Here was the kicker. I never saw anybody in the backyard, no cookout. Though I was on the front, it was always just cars and the door closed.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. And so I was like, man, so
that's nuts.
But I'm telling you, it happens. And it's so organized today that people have, you know, websites, they have passwords, they got special houses. It's all over the place. Trust me when I tell you. And so again, getting back into this whole thing, we're gonna shift the corner now.
Oh Lord, here we go.
So this is some verbiage from someone who was divorced some time ago, but it kind of left them in a bad way, kind of scarred them a bit, because the husband, although she has no proof that he entered into that world, but the husband was definitely philandering and doing his outside the house stuff, and it left her feeling all kinds of ways. All right. So this is her statement, sort of, I guess her statement towards the topic, so to speak. Okay, she says, as a woman divorced largely due to my ex-husband's infidelity, I initially wondered why he chose to be physically intimate with other women. It crushed me and affected my self-esteem, how I perceived myself physically, and made me overall question if there were things I could have done in the bedroom to make it more exciting for him and me. Admittedly, after his second round of infidelity, I found the bedroom to be quite boring and lacking excitement and creativity because the emotional connection had fizzled and the physical connection was right behind it. I can see how couples might think that adding new energy and personalities to the bedroom could be a potential solution. It's not my cup of tea, and I think there are many other ways to add spice to the bedroom. Further, I think that people who add a third person to their sexual relationship are likely lacking in something that this sort of excitement will only feel momentarily. Right. Now, there are certain people who are just sexually more explorative, and perhaps they don't see a problem. To that, I say to each or his or her own. I personally couldn't see being sexually aroused by seeing my partner pleased by someone else. I'd much rather have an adult conversation about what is missing and how we can together make it in bed and appreciate whatever. Yeah, make it in bed. Obviously, that's something else. So make it in bed and that's it. So this person is saying, she definitely probably can see how the conversation will come up, right? To come up. But she said basically what she's saying, it made her question who she was and was she really a nun and all that kind of stuff. And again, like I said earlier, sometimes I said this when I was doing the promotion before the show started. I was saying to people that, I know nowadays when we meet people, we're so concentrated on security. Girl, do a background check, make sure he ain't no crazy killer. When the part you need to add to it is one of the most important parts. You need to know if sexually you match up with that person.
Okay.
Sexually, you need to know the depth of that person's sexual explorative things. You know, even history. Because what have you done means a lot.
Okay.
Because what have you done means you are likely sometimes open to be prone to it today, if touched in the right area. And if it's there, it may be able to be scratched and aroused again. And so that's the thing that nowadays that brings on a whole nother monster, because the last thing you want to do is end up with someone that's nice, cool, you know, initially, maybe in your sexual encounter, it was just normal, but then the person could be behind their back saying, what is Rhonda doing? She just don't know anything. And you said, Rhonda said, I gave him my best. And he like, no, not your best. I had the house down the street with all 20 people in it. No. But anyway, so people, but that's how people think. They're, you know, you just never know.
That's a very good point.
You never know. You just need to, that's a conversation you need to have with somebody about sex. Even like I said, you know, one of the most places people get deceived about sex is church.
Yeah.
Because in church, you know, I can speak to this. Being brought up in church, there's no emphasis put on sexual compatibility. All it is you hear the terms equally yoked, saved, and God's going to do it. Granted, He will. I believe it. But you need to have a realistic conversation with that saved person, because that saved person was once unsaved. They didn't come out the wombs saved, right? So they were once unsaved, so they had a treacherous life, whatever you call it. All kinds of things people that got delivered from, right? So they come in together. So people have things that they want to explore. And then here comes, so on Sunday, everybody looks like the nice woman and nice man of God. But when people get home, one thing I've learned, even church women, they don't play with pleasure. Trust and believe not. I don't want to tell on myself. But
you
all
already
I'm saying
did.
is
You
this.
already did, son.
I'm just gonna say this. You be in church and you see people that you respect, and you know you've been around for years and this, that, and the other. And then sometimes when the reality of it is when people get down to a position where their needs are being met, God is to the side. And I'm here in front and center. I'm just being honest. People are like, I love the Lord, but I have this need. And so my husband is a good deacon and this, that, and the other, but I need this done. So it's real. And I've heard it. You know, I've been bedside where somebody say, you know, he don't know anyway. He probably just playing them drums. And the person just fell short. But the woman is saying she needs this done. And so she comes to you for it. And
you know, I think it has a lot to do, because I grew up in the church as well. And I think it really is not a part of the conversation in church. You know what I'm saying? It's something that is almost taboo to an extent, because there's no forum, no platform, no area of safety to be able to have that type of real conversation with your mate. You know, you grow up in church and you hear about, you know, abstinence, you hear about don't fornicate, don't commit adultery, don't do this, don't do that. But then where is the place where you actually are able to be honest with whoever that you're with to say, hey, this is what's happening with me sexually. And I think it really is a need that has gone ignored far too long. And it's something that has to be addressed, because the longer it goes unaddressed, the worse it becomes.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it has to be a conversation that we have, you know.
Because what's happening is people are resolving it themselves.
They are.
They're coming to church, they are professional at wearing the mask. But they are resolving it however they see fit.
We wear the mask that grins and lies. Eyes are.
And you know, and sometimes one of the hardest things to do, and you know us, we're naturally judgmental first. You know, the first thing we hear, ain't you in the church? That's the first thing we say when somebody falls that we find out about at church. But the reality, it's even though I believe that they mean I believe they mean well. But when it comes to people's sexual needs, like I said, they resolve it however they see fit. No matter how ugly it is, it's their resolve. And so I don't judge nobody with their resolve. That's your resolve. I'm not God to tell nobody nothing. But I'm just saying, you know, it's a real thing. And it happens. So I think that person number one for her statement about, you know, her perspective about it. Now, y'all got something to say before I go forward?
I agree with her. That was her experience sounds a lot like mine.
All right. Now, as we get to the meat of it, I'm going to get through this as quick as I can.
I thought we were already in the meat of it, but okay.
Anyway, first I want to say this, y'all. This one person was very brave in sharing their story. They went in. Now see, this is it. Anyway, this person was sharing their story, about exactly what we're talking about tonight, because they actually, and we talk about a lot of stuff, but this person lived it and they were in it, and they lived it beforehand, they lived it after marriage.
It sounded like they were doing it.
Yeah, so they were in it, and so I'm gonna get through it. Let me get through it and get to the
There's so much.
crust of it.
Right.
Let's pick an excerpt, like
Listen.
something super juicy, and go with that.
1 second, hold on. Let me see. I'm gonna get a jump in spot. Okay, all right. So basically, here's the short of it. The short in the beginning of it, she's basically saying, she's basically giving her precept, and she's saying basically, oh, you know what? I know how to do this real quick. I'm writing in hopes that you and your viewers can provide me with guidance. My life fell apart a few months ago, and I don't know how to put it back together again. First, let me rule out all the textbook reasons I'm sitting here staring at a heart shattered into 1,000 pieces.
Wow.
I am an only child, a privileged daddy's girl, a mama's princess, both of which came from a very humble beginnings. A street hustling factory worker and a wholesome born-again Christian woman produced a private school educated cum laude HBC grad with an advanced degree.
Oh, wow.
I think congratulations is in order. Then she
Congratulations.
says, I'm a black woman with both street smarts and book smarts. I'm loved and adored by my father, so I'm not searching for a father figure. I'm not even every man's cup of tea, but most men would say I'm physically attractive. I'm high maintenance, but I maintain myself, so I'm not looking for a sponsor, and I never endured a touch I didn't welcome or invite. Until I met, now mind you, all these names are fiction, until I met Malcolm. Malcolm was playing the role of the husband, boyfriend.
All right.
I spent 9 years in a physically abusive relationship that I left with the clothes on my back and a 3-month-old baby on my hip, literally. She says, we got into physical altercations. I picked up my baby in her diaper bag, and we walked barefoot out the door and never looked back. I had spent the early years of my 20s loving, building a home, and loyal to one man and one man only. I hired a black Christian female psychiatrist and spent a year on her sofa recovering from battered women's syndrome, rediscovering myself and analyzing how the hell did I get here? What I discovered in that year got me through the next 8 years as a single black woman, live boldly in truth. Live boldly in truth. So what is the truth? Here we go. Well, the truth is I have it all together. I work hard, go to church, even when it rains, cook clean, take damn good care. Oh, did I curse? Take good care of my child. But this love life thing has got me faded. She says, I just can't get right in a committed relationship. Why not? The bold truth is I don't like committed relationships because I can't get everything I like and need in one man. And my interest wanes quickly. I have an insatiable sexual appetite for which I do not apologize or compromise. And then there are the basics. I am extremely driven and accomplished, which tends to be intimidating for even the average guy. So my pool of men is limited. You put all that together with a strong sense of spirituality, good looks, and a head on your shoulders, and you got a black woman that's not so easy to love. I spent 8 years single, sometimes dating 2 and 3 men at a time, but 7 of those years I dated Xavier. Okay, this is a new character. He was always one of the men in my life. He understood me, showered me with affection, love, compliments, and attention, and let me be me exactly who I was. He accepted me and everything I came with. Xavier was special, and I knew Xavier was different when, after he had been away for a weekend, he asked to come over and spend the night. As he prepared to shower before our evening out, he called to one from the bedroom. He says, "Hey, kitten, you should really be more careful with my feelings. She said, you should throw that condom wrapper on your nightstand away." Wow. She said, my heart dropped. I literally stopped breathing. I looked over at the nightstand, and there was an opened condom wrapper right next to the phone. That same night at dinner, he looked into my eyes, pulled my chair close to him, and said, "You're perfect for me. I want to marry you." I panicked. My response to the proposal: "Look, we don't have to get married. We are fine as is. I don't think either one of us wants to live life married and tied down to just one person for the rest of our lives. What about my friends and your friends?" He responded. "You take some time to see if you want to spend your life with me. We will figure the rest out. Besides, I think I have an idea that will make us both happy." Now, here is the twist that he's presenting. 2 weeks later, I said yes. And just a few days after, I had a ring of official proposal and a wedding date. That made me decide. What made me decide? The proposal was for an open marriage.
Wow.
Specifically, we would be swingers. We would be engaged for a year and indulge in swinging as an engaged couple.
Right, that's what I said. Wow.
At the end of the year,
What's the point?
if all was well, we would marry and live happily ever after. If swinging wasn't for us, we would remain an unmarried couple and go back to what we had done for the past 7 years. And so it began. Our first time, we observed, networked, and got to know proper etiquette. We were locked into a spacious celebrity-style home with many luxurious amenities from 7 p.m. until 10 a.m. the next day. I asked a lot of questions and noted every interaction around me. What is it like to see your husband or boyfriend sleeping with another woman? How is jealousy controlled? What is the ride home like? How is life after the party? Is it possible to cheat? What if there is someone or where's something or someone I don't want to do? I don't like women. How does that work? Does this mean my husband doesn't love me? Is this some back alley way to cheat on your wife? What if he likes sex with her more than me? What if I like sex with a man other than my husband? All my questions were answered after our second visit. This time we engaged in sex with each other while others observed. And I can't lie, the rush was indescribable. She says it was erotic and passionate. We made love over and over again throughout the night and well into the next morning. Each time brought more spectators, and with each break, more inquiries from potential couples that were pleading to swap. I was high off the feeling, a feeling I wanted to continue to chase, and every time I went after it, it never disappointed. So by our third visit, we accepted an invitation from a couple to swap. I was so cool with our situation, I actually enjoyed seeing my man pleased by another woman. I even gave her instruction while they were having sex. I wasn't jealous because I selected her. Funny, but we had become friends after lots of laughs and conversation. Our ride home was hilarious. It was raining heavily and we actually pulled over under an overpass to have sex in the back of his truck. Life after the party was normal. We hooked up with couples, we met for dinner and drinks, hung out at the movies, and did a few weekend getaways together. The possibility of cheating is slim to none because every couple views the sex as just great sex. But I'm in love with my partner. If there is someone you like to discuss with your partner and make an invitation, it's routine or normal to find a couple or two that you regularly swap with because you really like the sex, and some couples even seek out permanent girlfriends from single women in the lifestyle. You don't have to do anyone or anything you don't want to. You can decline an invitation from anybody. If you don't like same sex, you simply state that to the potential mate, and they don't make advances towards you. Ironically, sex intensified from watching how someone else pleased my husband. I often incorporated things she did in the bedroom when he and I were alone. So the year flew by and we got married. I was 3 months pregnant on our wedding day. We stopped swinging for a few months because we said our vows. I desperately wanted a second child and didn't continue until a year after I had the baby. And that year we went right back to swinging. It's almost done, y'all. And I was incredibly happy. I was incredibly happy. Life was great. I could honestly say I married for love, and I was spending the rest of my life with my best friend. I had it all. 3 years in and going strong. We were in love, totally open and honest with each other. No walls, no guards, head over heels with each other. I felt free to love and adore him without reservation. Year 4, just before Valentine's Day, Year 4, just before Valentine's Day, while doing some spring cleaning, my 3-year-old Joy brought me an old phone. I didn't realize it, so I powered it up and opened it up. It was filled with videos, texts, messages, and pictures to and from 7 different women, all single outside of the lifestyle. And what the hell, all of his Facebook friends in plain sight. I dropped the phone and cried uncontrollably. My son says, Mommy, what's wrong? What's wrong, Mommy? Where do I go from here? That was her story. Wow, that's something. Now, let's back up. You're not
Let
very
me tell you
participatory.
something. In your whole entire life, don't you read an excerpt that long again. You better find a shorter way to tell that story.
Listen, this is somebody's story, so we gotta be sensitive. This is someone's, they bared their soul. She didn't have to do it, so I respect her for that. That's cool. Don't pay Natalie any mind. She probably was lusting. Anyway, so here's the thing.
I just want to know where you hid the phone, Adam.
Right. He's talking about you and the guy.
It was really you.
So,
for real, it went over my head because I almost took a nap. I swear I almost took a nap.
This is what I want to say regarding her story is that a lot of women or people who might judge either what I did or what she did or her situation or the lady before. And most of you all, what you don't know is that's what's going on. So if everybody says that I wouldn't do it or this is that whatever, like you said, 9 times out of 10, he's going out and he's doing it with 5, 6, 7 other women anyway. So you're involved in multiple relationships behind your back, whether you choose to take part in it or not.
Right.
So that's the point that you made earlier. So that's what I got from that.
Right. Thanks. And so when I spoke to the person about this story, I put a twist to it that she didn't really understand, but it actually made her more upset. That wasn't my goal. But when I talked to her, I said, she said to me, why did this happen? She said, I had everything. And so for me, I'm thinking, well, why are you, and the first thing I said, what you mad for? Because you guys were open. Right. So what you got women on? You see them doing stuff. Here's the crazy part. I stopped and I thought about it. I said, I get it. I said, most people, if we strip down to our natural selves and natural way of thinking, this isn't our first choice. Your first choice is just a woman, right? Yeah. So the part that really tore her apart was the fact that he convinced her to come into this door, right? Come into this room. Then he got sick of himself. He got sick of his lifestyle. Then, without communicating that to her, he kept going, but he said, you know what? I want to go back to normal. And he went out seeking out normal women that he could probably just have something normal with. They weren't in the lifestyle. And he was looking to press the reset button and leave her out there, betrayed. So for her, it's weird to understand. But what she's really trying to say is, I committed to be in this circle with you. So if you betray me and go out of this circle, I cannot trust anymore. It's deep, but it's real.
Yeah, you know, I want to have an open, honest relationship.
Right.
You know what I want to say is that, like, the problem with all of this is that in any relationship, whether you made a conscious decision to have a threesome or you made a conscious decision for it to just be you and that person, you cannot control the other person, which is the other variable. So at the end of the day, you need to make a decision that you can live with, because no matter what, that person owes only to themselves to be true to themselves. And then hopefully that's what you're looking, you guys share the same common moral ground. But at the end of the day, like, literally the people that are out here swinging or cheating or doing whatever it is that they're doing, they're fulfilling their desire. So you can't control that variable. At the end of the day, make a decision that you can live with. You can't. You don't have any control over your partner at all, other than to say, hey, could you not do that to me? That's the only control. And that's not even control. That's a request.
Wow.
You know, my question would be, and it would just be simply this: am I not enough?
No,
do
Adam,
you have
you're
to?
not.
Whatever.
No, I'm just playing.
But I mean, I think it really is. This is the heart of the matter. That if you're with somebody and then they want to introduce somebody's else,
Yeah.
you're gonna make the other person feel inadequate.
Right.
Like they're not enough to satisfy your needs, and that really is that's a systemic problem.
Right.
Not dealing. It's a systemic problem with you. If you're asking for somebody else, then what's the issue with you that's making you seek other people versus having that one person? You know what I'm saying?
But that's it goes back to what
It's
you
a
said,
high.
finding somebody who you're sexually compatible.
That's what I said. Yeah, you got to find someone who and this is real talk. You got to find somebody who's at.
Yeah.
And if not, you're gonna often find yourselves bored.
Yeah.
And that's not even after years. That's just after some layouts. You're gonna be like, because you're gonna say to yourself, I give all of this. Let's just say we know how. Let's just be honest, men. First time out, you just Olympic gold, right? You just going for the gold, right? Whatever. Then after a while, you're looking for the reciprocation. For the reciprocation.
Okay.
And if it don't come, and it don't come, and it don't come, now it just begins. You just like I'm just giving a lot of energy just because I'm not getting no return here. And I think that's where it starts. But if I had to tell people anything, like I said on the show before, we look to perfect what we practice. Mm-hmm. So if people are practicing things on you or questioning you subliminally about add additions and bring your friend over here, because it starts subtle. It might, and I'm not just saying this for the men. Women do it too. Women can really get a guy quicker than a guy can get a man. Women are more manipulative, and because they got what we're looking for. So women can really get you. I'm telling you, women can influence a man and have you doing something crazy stuff. Okay. And so the guy, you be out there, you be like, so and the women can say, run like, Charles, bring home Adam, and I'm like, huh? And then she might get a spiel, and I'll be like, what you mean? Because I want you to be my daddy though. Let's bring him home, and you be surprised with how these things switch, and the guy coming home, and it's vice versa. So what I'm saying to people, if you hear these things from people, and if you know when the minute you hear it, early on in the relationship, when you hear a person ask you about this, so let's just say people do a lot of drinking, they hanging out, and when you at that little bar, you hanging out, and the guy always got his friend with him, and the guy's like saying, hey, Natalie, Adam said he's trying to come in here too. It happens. The guy will be sleeping with you, and he'll say, my boy, my brother, whoever, want to come in here too. And then what you do? You just look at him like, I get it. Most women be like, what are you talking about? But it happens. They'll ask you. And so if you see things happen in behaviors or approaches or practices that you don't like, look at it and be honest with yourself. I'm not built
like I did.
Yeah, I'm not built like
Draw a
this.
line, man.
I don't build like
I need to
this.
go find somebody that I'm enough for.
Right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's why I made the decision to walk away from my marriage. Because if that's what you need, and if you need multiple women all the time, you got to cheat on me all the time,
then
you need to go do that.
Because the results will mess the woman up if you stay or if you join. Right. Trust me, if you join, because you can be a perfectly, like, let's just talk about the woman who told her story. Very accomplished, all those things that she said in the thing, but like can't speak to her mindset, but I can just say, let's just say now that she's used to that, she has years of satisfaction, happiness, even though there was a betrayal, but she can reach back into the happy bag and maybe seek that out somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Where a normal guy like Dre may meet her and be like, I'm ready to just have a white picket fence in the house, and she's like, okay, but are you okay with me bringing Adam and Charles? And you like, it'll throw you for a loop. But I always tell people, you better have that sexual conversation and see where people's mind is with their satisfaction. And some people, we think that we have sex and that's it. The person may have an orgasm. I made them happy. That ain't the tip of the iceberg.
What I thought was interesting is that
function.
what I thought was interesting is when I was married, he told me that it was not that I always accused him of cheating, and he was not necessarily always cheating for sex, but for attention from other women. So sometimes it's just about the neediness of attention.
Of course, of course. But again, people, like you said, we're not robots or super people, right? All you can do is have a conversation and say to you, what are you lacking? Help me help you. Right. Because I can't just, like I said, I can't think for you. If you have this need for attention, tell me what it is. I would rather hear it from you than hear in the streets.
But Charles, why you gotta assume that it's two girls and a guy? Maybe it's two guys and a girl. You ain't said that. Maybe your feelings might be in the toilet.
I said that.
Your feelings might be in the toilet.
I said that,
But it's not just a need for attention. It's a lack of respect for me.
Yeah,
correct.
It is.
Correct.
I mean, that's a total lack of respect.
You got to get to the point of reverence. Like, if there's no reverence in your relationship, then you ain't got nothing. Like,
correct.
It's the fundamental. I don't even understand half the stuff that's being said here.
Exactly.
Thank you, Dre.
No,
Thank you.
What it means is because I'm saying it comes down to a position of you have to love yourself first.
Exactly.
You draw your line, man.
Nobody else to validate you or
Right.
love you or make you somebody
Right.
special.
You
Because if
validate
somebody
you.
come to you sideways, you can be like, you know what, cluck you.
Yeah.
I'm
Wow.
out.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
it's got to be a standard of treatment
That
that,
you
you
bring.
allow to
That you
yourself
bring,
that you
right.
won't let anybody.
What are you willing to accept?
Exactly.
At the end of the day, man, if you don't respect yourself enough to be able to say, no, I'm not doing this, I don't want no part of this, then nobody else is going to respect you.
I have
No,
my own curiosity.
I understand
I
that.
never, I never
Yeah,
was
okay.
curious about drinking. I was never curious about smoking. I always say this: the only area that peer pressure ever got me in was having sex before marriage. Unlike I was raised in the church
Sure, okay.
to wait until you got married. So I
Okay.
never drank. I never smoked. But I was curious about sex because I heard good things about sex. I heard that sex felt good.
I got you.
So that's the same thing that I heard about threesomes. So I have my own curiosities about threesomes.
Okay.
Are they as good as everybody else says? This is something that I think that I'm willing to try because I want to see if it's as good as that I heard that it was.
But I think placating to someone else to satisfy their desire diminishes you at the end of the day. Because it's not about you, it's about them.
Correct.
They want to satisfy themselves. So what I'm saying is, if that's not something that you're into, you got to draw the line.
Yeah.
Respect yourself enough to say, no, I'm not doing that. I'm worth more than that at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, would you have pitched a threesome to him if you weren't trying to save the relationship?
No,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the answer.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the answer. Okay.
I would have been
So-
too scared.
Wow.
No, I wouldn't.
So-
I wouldn't have been interested.
Comments, we're sorry. You know, we had a lot of things to cover. We apologize. I'll definitely get in the comments. We all will get in the comments after the show, and we will
We
carry
could do
this on.
part 2 of this and break down. We
Yeah,
can break
for
down
sure.
the whole
More.
story.
Yeah,
There's a lot
yeah,
to be
for
said
sure.
about this.
Yes.
It's a lot to unpack.
And we
A
will.
lot to
Matter of fact, we will do a part 2 to this because it's a lot more to this. And I have a friend of mine from out of town, say that he's bold enough to come in and speak his truth because his wife do it now.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. So you know what I'm saying. So
I wish I could have told my whole story. But
yeah, he's in New York, but he was definitely. He said, "Look, we're public." He said, "We got a super following. We all on social media." He said, "It is what it is. I'm gonna come and educate you." That's his perspective. So, you know, it is what it is.
I mean,
But-
because it's just like the porn thing. Like we said,
Right.
for some
Right.
people's relationship, it doesn't affect them if that's
Right.
the way they like to get down.
all right.
I just
Wow.
think that we tread a very dangerous line when we seek to normalize
And that's
open
what's happening.
relationships.
Normalize.
And just
Yes.
like with everything else that we
Yeah.
see in mainstream media or things that are done behind the doors, there are so many things now that are becoming normalized that I just don't
You gotta
necessarily
draw the
agree
line
with.
somewhere.
At some point,
Just
you got to draw
the
a
line
line.
somewhere, man.
Like I said, go.
I was gonna say it comes down to why are you doing the things you do?
Yeah.
A lot of
Exactly.
these
Yeah.
people aren't thinking what's behind the motivation to go out and
Right,
do these
right.
things or seek
Right.
another sexual partner. It's because they're trying to fill a hole that's inside of them.
Exactly.
A lot of them, not all.
Correct.
but a lot of
Yeah.
them.
And so that's why I say in closing that, you know, like I said in any other show, if you're able to own 100% whatever you do, then do you.
Yeah.
But if you know, like I said, you're doping to cope, you're doing this because John or Cindy want to make them happy, those aren't reasons to do it. If it's not in you innately to just be this kind of person, don't walk in them shoes because trust me, the residuals of who you are to become after that, you won't be good for nobody else. Because I mean, who can live up to that?
Right.
Nobody. So, you know, anybody got anything last things to say?
Charles Laverne wants you to post future stories on the wall.
Huh?
She wants you to
Yeah,
just
post
post a
future
story on the
posts.
wall.
I know that, but you know, trust me, it was long, but I only did it because I took a special observer because this person didn't have to open their life.
Right.
So that's why I just gave it. It is
your
what it
show.
is.
You ain't
right.
gotta explain it to nobody.
Tell him, Dre. You know what? Hey, Dre. You know what? How about you prepare these pink slips and we'll sit them out morning.
Oh, okay.
No, you know. Anyway,
Well,
so
you
yeah.
can take all this equipment down too, then.
So no, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. You know, we had our typical cameras was rejecting us tonight, so I had to go to the faithful laptop. So
My
I
camera
apologize
was
for
fine. I
the.
think
We'll have
something
it straight
wrong with ours.
next week. Anyway, anybody say anything interesting before we pull off?
You want me to start? Let's see.
Hold on, guys. If you guys got a second, come on.
I'll pick my bestie.
Okay.
Hi, Ava. It says, well, you know what?
Go ahead.
Team us. It says, you know, it doesn't make you a dirty person or weirdo because you like open relationships. To each their own. They may think you are weird for only being with one person for the rest of your life after marriage. There's someone for everyone.
Okay, and so you know what, guys? What I'm going to do is I'm going to post both of those things I read. I'll post them tonight along with some help center facts for those that are struggling. But anyway, so it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And you know what? I say struggling, but again, I even feel bad saying that because honestly, I'm not anyone that tells someone what they're doing. If you enjoy what you're doing, that's you.
Do you?
I just, we all have our positions, but
Right.
people resolve theirs, love life the best way they can. So, it is what it is. So, signing off yet another week. We went over a little bit, but we will definitely, I'll post what's going to be going down next week. And, also, like I said before, I talked to Dre. Dre got some super ideas and some super concepts. Any of you got some ideas, shoot them to me. Or the comments. If there's something that we're missing that you want to talk about, because somebody may have a conviction that they really, really want to talk about, inbox me and I'll put it together, for real. So this is about everybody. It's not about one person. It's about putting resolve and reason to these issues and relationships. So, signing off, and good night.
Good night.
Bye, y'all.
Oh, my God.
See what the country by y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Let me cut this off. It's still live.